First, gentlemen, how are you?
Good.
Yeah, doing good. Tail end of the tour, it's been a lot of fun. Bullet's been great, huge crowds.
You say the tail end of the tour, so what kind of feelings does that bring with it? Happy feelings of going home?
Feelings of hope.
Yeah. Life. It's like when a flower blooms, in the middle of a desert. No, it's I don't know. Tours kind of have phases, and in phases, I don't know. It's always fun. It's fun going home. It's fun being in the heat of everything too, but it's just different, After weeks and weeks of touring, it kind of gets old sometimes. So.
But is it around this time that the set gets kind of all the details are worked out, and then it's working on all cylinders in a way?
I think it's like the second week of tour,
Okay.
or the second or third week, things are really locked into the groove. The first week's like working out the kinks, getting comfortable, and then the rest of the tour is great on that end. Yeah.
Yeah, this is the part of tour where all the bands really start to hang out, though, a lot, too. Because for some reason, it's like sometimes people don't talk to each other till like the last few days. So, yeah, it's a fun time.
And what will you talk about? Is it just socially, or do you talk about the music then as well? And is it inspiring in that way as well?
Yeah, all of it. We try to just goof off and kill the time sometimes, and distract each other from the fact that we've been away from home for a while. Or, but a lot of times we share techniques. I know with singing, like I'm always talking to the other singers in the bands and hearing what they know that I don't, and vice versa, about how we can be better.
Is there, because you have quite an energetic and active live show, how do you prepare for, like you say, the first week is still figuring it out, but how, in the weeks before the tour, how do you prepare for, mentally, physically, for that?
I'm sure we're all different, but for me personally, I make sure I'm going to the gym almost every day, at least the week before, so that there's some sort of a, it's not just slapping me in the face, like, because once we get on stage, like, it is way more tiring in a different way. Like, even if I am exercising every day at home, it's a different type of exertion, and so the first few days I was kind of winded on stage, to be honest, and I was like, damn, like I need to do more cardio before I come out on the road. But the other part is just making sure that I get solid sleep, because I know the first few days there's always that transition phase, and your immune system's going to get hit pretty hard with all the transitions, and
Yeah. And then, am I right in saying that you built some of the props on the stage as well?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I got into welding about 6 or 7 years ago, literally to build everything that's up there. So I'm not a professional, but it's a big passion of mine now.
So it was with that intent to kind of...
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, I've never really built anything else outside of like Christmas presents, wine bottle holders, things like that. So.
Is there something you are working on now then, to kind of, because I imagine after you do a tour, what is the process like in terms of the live show? Do you discuss kind of how to improve it, or how does that work?
Yeah, like even the Scorpion Tail started with an idea Jonny had, and he wanted to DJ the band, and he had the technology to do it, and this little like MIDI controller, and we piped the bass and guitar and drums through the computer, and he stood there while we played a riff and literally like took over our instruments, and it was super sick. Like, it sounded awesome, but the visual of it was real small, and so we didn't want to blow that idea. We wanted to be the first to do it, but we wanted to do it right, and that's where the whole Scorpion Tail thing came from. So.
And in terms of I assume when you're young and you're just getting into music, you watch shows, you go to live shows, you see performances on TV. What were for you some of the people that inspired you in terms of their live performances early on?
There was a band called Three, a very unknown band from New York. They were kind of a progressive band, but the lead singer did this kind of slap guitar thing where he was just had all these effects, and he was just made his acoustic guitar sound like this whole crazy big wall of sound. And that really inspired us with show ideas and doing something a little more out of the box, and not, you're just song. And then I know Dredge was always a band that we had watched together that we really liked live. Honestly, most of my influences were from an instructor that I had in marching band when I was in high school, because one of the main guys that would come write our show pieces was from Cirque du Soleil in Las Vegas. And so they're known for how high-level performance and creative and pushing the limits they are with acrobatics and music and all these different things. So that really opened my eyes to, what a show is, and trying to incorporate that into the traditional rock world a little bit more.
And to what extent is this whole live show, how much of that is on your mind when you're working on the songs, when you're working on do you think, oh, this might be a nice thing to have live, or how does that?
I would say it doesn't. We kind of separated the two a long time ago. And I don't know, now we just focus on what is coolest for the record, and then we can work it out live later.
Yeah, then we kind of, it's like another layer of like, every once in a while we might go, oh, that would be kind of, I could imagine that sounding really cool, or that kind of being an audience interaction moment. But most of the time we're just, like Dan said, writing as good as can be for the listening experience without any thoughts of live. And then once all that's done and the record's out, then we go, okay, how can we turn this into a live show?
Your latest album, The Stories We Tell Ourselves, was released, I think, almost a year ago now. This might sound weird a bit, but how does it feel that it's still as relevant now in terms of what's happening in the world as it was a year ago?
I think that the whole concept of the stories we tell ourselves is more relevant than ever, and I think it's one of those concepts that is psychological at its heart and is something that's just a human dilemma constantly, whether it's now or years ago or years into the future. I think we're always going to be grappling with the truth and what it really is, because our perception of the world is often fragmented, and we put those pieces together with the network of people around us. I mean, we only have pieces of information, and they have other pieces, and then we put those pieces together to form a story or a narrative about what's happening in reality. And sometimes we get stuck in echo chambers, or we get, whether it's politically or religiously or interpersonally, some people get isolated even in a relationship where you get a skewed version of the world and what's really going on. And so we're kind of picking all those things apart in that concept. And so I think it's applicable at all times.
Right. Do these themes come to you when you're off the road? Because I can imagine it might be quite difficult. For instance, yesterday or the day before were the midterm elections. Is it difficult to keep up with those kind of things when you're on the road?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, honestly, I had to be honest. Like, I don't think any of us even voted this time, just because we've been so busy and traveling and just trying to get our lives together. So we missed the voting this year. Technically, if we were good citizens, we could vote by doing the absentee vote and everything. But like I said, our heads have just been spinning lately with travel and commitments and everything. So, but usually we do when we're home.
And like I said, the year was released about a year ago. Have you already started thinking about what comes next?
Yes, yeah. I've already been sharing ideas with each other. Like, that's the beautiful thing about technology is once I got Wi-Fi, I saw these little demo ideas from Mark and Ben, and then I have this program that has all these notes and lyrics I've written and concepts, and started talking to Dan about some of the concept ideas, and they're starting to bubble up.
Yeah, and it takes about a year for to kind of want to write again. Like when we finished the record, I was talking with Mark about this. It's like, dude, I'm spent. Like if someone asked me to write a song or even try to do anything, it's like there's no energy, no desire left to write. But it's been a year, so it's kind of starting to come back in. It's cool. It's like rain, you know. It's like a well, if you will.
And I find that interesting. And I'm sure it is, but is the whole process of making the album, is that exhausting? Is that a very, very difficult thing to do?
Yeah, it's awesome, you know, because it's this awesome challenge, and when it's going well, like it's one of those things you want to put all of your energy into. But yeah, when it comes to like finishing it and making sure everything's perfect and all the songs are there and all that, yeah, it's a lot, and there's a lot of pressure on you. You know, we're not allowed to release crappy music, so.
Yeah, and for the last album did really well. So does that add some pressure in a sense?
Honestly, I think it made me feel more comfortable because that one I think had the most pressure that I've ever felt, just because it was the follow-up to the record that kind of introduced us to the world. We had made music before that. If you know us, you know we have other records, but that was the first real record that we presented to the world and most people know. So the second one, a lot of people had anticipation and expectations about it. So now that we're past that one, I don't feel so much pressure on the outside. But I've always been the type of person where I put more pressure on myself than other people do. Right. So they're never going to be a worse critic than I am, so I'm not worried about it.
Right.
Yeah, and it's all about learning. So when you do something well, or when you do something and you see that it works, like it's another kind of tool in the chest. So it gives you confidence, kind of gives you a even wider foundation from which to jump. So yeah, it's a good thing.
But Jonny, that's an interesting point that you mentioned, that you did release 2 albums before the third one, that kind of put you in the spotlight, so to say. So how do you look back at that period then before that third album? Is it a kind of a limbo now? How does that work?
I look at that period as like a finding ourselves period, because I was on the drums for a few records back when we were kids pretty much, and then those are records that aren't even available to the public anymore.
Okay.
And then we had our first record where I started singing, which was The Few Not Fleeting. And then the record after that was the self-titled record, and then the record after that was The Stories We Tell Ourselves. So that was the third, the record that we're touring on now is the third record I've sung on. Mm-hmm. And so yeah, it's just each one's been a lot of lessons learned. But yeah, there was a finding ourselves period. You know, we had 5 different singers before me.
Right.
You know, so
And
or
then,
about.
And then you got kind of pushed. Was it a case of necessity early on, or did you think about it in the months or the year leading up to it?
It became necessity. And there was definitely an interest deep down in my soul, but I didn't have the guts to go for it at the time. I think had too many fears in my head, too many things that made it seem like that'd be a bad idea. I'm like, and so it was it was necessity that helped urge me to confront those fears and get through.
Finally, then, you mentioned that you've already started working on new material, and then you're sharing it a little bit. Dan, can you tell me what have you noticed about kind of the new music that's Jonny's, at least the lyrics that Jonny's coming up with, and kind of the music that the band is?
It's good. Yeah. I don't know. I'm excited about it. You know, historically, like this band has been very slow at writing, and it seems to it used to take us a long time to like flush out a lot of bad ideas to have like a good solid song. And now, I don't know, I'm really happy with our songwriting. Like it's coming to us quicker and better. And it's great. You know, it's cool to hear something from one of your band members and be like, oh yeah, I would love to work on that song. That's sick. So.
For you, have you noticed something about your own psyche, something, new themes that you see popping up?
Oh yeah. This is kind of a process that we all go through, but I can speak for myself as far as there's like a digestion stage where you're ingesting a lot over the course of a year or 2 years during the touring cycle. You know, just the nature of what we do, there's a lot of spaces in between our performances, so that means a lot of time in a bunk by yourself, a lot of time stuck in an airplane, stuck in a bus, hurry up and waiting. So a lot of times I have headphones on and I'm just absorbing information in the political world, in the psychological world, in the musical world, from people that inspire me. And so all these different people that I think are considered great minds, not exclusive to music, just great minds out there in the world. They all start putting ideas into my head, and then I think what comes of that a year or two later are these concepts, these song ideas that are combinations of personal experiences mixed with what's happening in the world and what other people are, you know, how the view is changing for humanity. And then lately it's been a lot of this guy named Jordan Peterson.
I've listened to a couple of podcasts.
Well, yeah, he's very
interesting.
He can go deep with things, and so I've just been going down a lot of rabbit holes with him. Yeah.
All right, gentlemen, thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, thank
Thank
you.
you.